Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Sunday special. Real quick, what I mean by Sunday special, it is a weekly video that I do, and I go through the markets, talk about trade setups, and more with you guys. So if you're new to the channel, hit that like button, subscribe button for more free trading content, and let's get right into it. Last week, the dollar actually just flew up into the heavens there, headed towards the moon, right there on Friday. So you can see on the Friday 4-hour chart, you can see bam, bam, bam. We had 3 green candles to end the week. Is the dollar going to be strong going into this next week? Well, let's talk about it. That's what we're here to do. So the dollar here, looking at the DXY, the dollar made a really impressive turnaround. So what we saw is that we saw just a really sell market, a strong sell trend here in this market. Then we had sort of a big break here, and now we actually saw sort of the flip side happening. We're seeing higher lows on this dollar move. Now, as you guys may have known if you've been watching my channel for a while, watching my live streams, I've been pretty bearish on the dollar. Took some really good trades on the dollar during this point, and actually some during there as well. And now I'm watching this thing and I'm saying, okay, wow, this is really strong to the upside. I actually took a stop loss on EURUSD due to this strength, right? So I was short on the euro, long on the euro, short on the dollar, and the dollar strength basically pushed my position to a stop loss. It happens. It's part of trading. Everyone has losses, but I want to make that point that this dollar strength sort of surprised me and a lot of other people. We saw Friday's close just absolutely really strong. So is that strength set to continue? Well, I would say that the first reaction would be, well, probably yes. This move here broke through some serious levels of resistance with not too much trouble. We had this double top, which then became support there on Friday. You can see on Friday you had this or in the last part of the week, you just had this nice breakout, pullback, and shoot through the major levels of resistance that we have marked on the left-hand side of the screen. So to me, it does seem like it's very possible for the dollar to maybe make a stab, a march back up to supply there at 93.6. So keep an eye on that going into this week. I'm not going to be in a rush to short the dollar. I am going into this week flat, which means I don't have any open positions on my main trend following account. And so as we make this move, there may be room for the bulls. Maybe if you are a bull on the dollar, maybe there's stuff like this where we could look for pullback plays, maybe moves up to 93.6. But again, from a technical analysis standpoint, things look fairly bullish at the moment here for the dollar bulls. So it does seem like the pullback has at least pause for now, and now bulls seem to be in control. Now, as a dollar bear myself, what does that mean? Well, there are some levels that I may be interested in resuming my bearish thesis on the dollar, but not until price action shows me a reason to do so. And shorting this right now is not really anything that's in my to-do list, if you will. I'm waiting to see some sort of failure, and we'll have to reevaluate that going into the week. By the way, I stream Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern. If you'd like to come watch the streams and hang out, I do stuff like this every day where we talk about setups and ideas. Let's move on to EURUSD. Euro dollar took a nosedive there last week, and this is the trade that I took. So you guys will probably see that up on YouTube. I filmed the trade and it's already uploaded. I just have it scheduled for some point later on. I took a buy here. Price went in my favor very well. Things were going really well. And then unfortunately on that major dollar push, it did hurt my position and ended up taking me for a stop loss somewhere along the way. It wasn't a major damage or anything like that. It was a pretty small loss, but it still happens to all of us. And the point is, when it comes to trading, a lot of times people on the internet, they'll show you the best parts of trading when things are going really well, and they'll never show you when things are not going well. So I try and at least keep it open and transparent about that in my videos. So the 61.8 was my theory. It held really nicely until it didn't. So what that means to me going into next week is that the euro dollar basically breaking that 61.8, that was the line in the sand for me. In terms of bullish thesis, right? I wanted to see that impulsive move, the corrective move, find a lot of buyers. We did not quite see that. And so going into this week, I am no longer super interested in being a bull on the euro, because now it does seem like if we scroll out a bit, it does seem like with that breakout to the downside, we look at the daily chart. Whoops, that's the 1 week. We go to the daily chart. It looks like the euro may want to come back and retest the lowest levels of support that we see this year, which was down at 1.1675, let's say. Again, bleeding out really strong there. Towards the end of the week, the euro just completely toppled over. So found resistance up there on the previous move on the daily chart. You can see resistance came in and has been basically selling off since. So Where do we go from here? Well, again, like I said, path of least resistance for me on the euro is a move down there. If you are a super bull, maybe you're looking for some opportunities to buy that. But for me, as a trend trader, there's just not a lot of interest until we were to see something like a breakout above and making sort of new highs. And at least, at the very least, I could look at a bullish thesis if we were looking at something like the 4-hour chart and we were able to break out of this downward trend. That may be the earliest signals of bullishness to me as a trend trader. So I'd like to see at least a breakout to the upside, some form of higher lows, higher highs, things like that. We'll keep going. We'll take a look at the pound dollar here. The pound dollar basically fell out of favor. You can see we had this really nice little upward trend going on. Beautiful, beautiful higher lows, things working out really well. I've talked about my trade many times, the one that worked out really, really well. I took a buy somewhere right around here, closed it out right around here. That was a trade that I filmed and put up on YouTube, so feel free to go watch that video if you'd like. But since then, price basically, it shot up one more time, then it just absolutely collapsed, put in that lower high, another lower high, and right now, the pound dollar from a technical analysis standpoint looks incredibly weak. You may get a bit of a bounce. You may get a bit of a bounce here at support, but I would not personally be super interested in betting on this because, again, for the most part, this thing has sort of put in what seems to be another lower high in the grand scheme of this big move. So I don't love that, and I think that there may be even a push back down to major support there at 1.36. That was the low of the year, and it very well may want to make a move there. It might not go right away, but actually it was more like 1.3575. I think that there may be some bounces along the way, but if we are really out of favor, if sellers really come in strong and the buyers of the dollar are actually able to continue that rally that we saw last week, that could be a little bit concerning for the pound dollar bulls. So again, like I said, same thing for me. I'm on the sidelines with this one. Pound yen, however, is a pair that I am bullish on if we're able to see a breakout as well. So a lot of these currency pairs that I watch, they had a really sort of a turnaround week. So you can see I also took a loss on pound yen. I basically tried to buy somewhere around here. Stopped out really quickly, and I'm really glad I did because this thing went way, way further. But I am looking for opportunities to try and find buys on pound yen. I do like that to the upside. Preferably, I'd see this trend line breakout in favor of the overall, sort of upward momentum that we've seen. Can we see a higher low? That's what I'm looking for. I don't really want to see that thing break out lower. I do have a bullish bias on this. And the main reason is because I am currently bullish on the pound, just waiting for an opportunity to jump in. So I do like that possibility. Dollar yen is going to be our next one here. We'll take a look at USD JPY. By the way, if I take any trades, if you guys are not familiar, I do offer a community on Discord. Let me show you sort of what that looks like. So inside of our community, any trades that I take, here's that euro dollar trade that I mentioned, so we can take a look at it. So any trades that I take, I share in full detail inside of our private trading community on Discord. If you're not already in it, there's a link down below in the description. If you would like to get access, you can find it there. But I can say, here's a little bit of a recap on that trade. Everything looked pretty good. I liked the 61.8. I liked the support level. I liked, the nice rally off of support on the higher time frames. Sometimes trades just don't work the way that you're hoping for. But anyways, if I take any trades this week, which I definitely plan to do, I have no trades open, and there are some opportunities that I'm seeing, I will open them and share them inside of Discord. So if you'd like to, you can join our trading community on Discord to see the trades that I'm taking. You can access our chat room. We have research that goes out. We have webinars that we do throughout the week, all sorts of good stuff. So check that out. Link is down below in the description, and there's a promo code for you to get access as a subscriber for a discount. So dollar yen is going to be our next one. Dollar yen is incredibly range bound. And for me right now, there is just, not a lot of interest on this. However, if we're able to get finally a breakout, a real breakout on dollar yen, there's a possibility that I actually be interested in going long on this pair. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one for sure, watching this range going into this week. But I'm not really a range trader, so I haven't been trading this one at all. So I've been on the sidelines for dollar yen for quite a while, but we'll keep that one in mind. Dollar Swiss is going to be our next one. Dollar Swiss franc. Look at this, just had a run up of a day. The breakout was real on that move. You can see all past resistance here. just got hammered by the bulls. There may be opportunities for those of you guys who are trend traders. If we sort of find a top, I'm not saying that this is the top, but if this is, you may get opportunities to look for pullback plays. Maybe there's a 38.2% play coming into the dollar against the Swiss franc. If you like the dollar, if you're bull in the dollar, also even better, look at that 61.8. So you've got consolidation here. You've got past resistance there at the 61.8. I like both of those levels. As always, please remember this is not me telling you to go take those trades. This is just me sharing my thoughts and ideas. But I do personally like dollar Swiss franc. That's a nice walking uptrend, right? You've got those higher lows coming in and looks pretty good. We'll take a look now at XAUUSD. Take a look at the gold market and see what's going on here with the gold market. So a lot of people got jumped into a bunch of buys on gold. A lot of people went long at support, long, buying into this sell-off. I've completely stayed out of this one because this thing is just a monster when it wants to sell off. You guys may or may not know this about gold, but gold sort of acts similar to the stock market in the sense that gold tends to do these walking uptrends over very long periods of time. And then when they dip, it has sharp dips, right? So it'll, just because of the nature of gold over the very long term, if you look at this thing on a weekly chart, it does tend to go up. It tends to sort of march its way higher, but then there are some very steep drops that occur occasionally. So for me, looking at the gold market, is this a buy? Well, I'm not rushing it. I would much rather see a breakout, much rather see a sign of bullishness, because look, if it starts to really turn around, if things start to really go bullish, yeah, sure, I'll be a little bit late, but I'll still hopefully catch majority of the move. On the flip side, what if this thing never, ever comes to this trend line for several weeks, months, even a year? Then in that case, I would be holding on to a lot of losses and dealing with that pain. So for me, I'd like to see a signal. Hey, the bulls are here. Okay, now it's time to look for possible buys. Because if there's just an absence of bulls like we see here, this thing could have another week like that, right? We could be back down to the lows of gold at 1680. So it's not that I think that that's going to happen. It's just that I am waiting for some signal of a bullish trend to pick up before I jump into a long setup on gold. And the reason I mention that is because I'm not super bearish on gold because I'm not incredibly bullish on the dollar. I think that the dollar move here last week may be not forever. And I'll be waiting. I'll be on the sidelines waiting for weakness to start coming into the dollar and then looking to try and pick up some shorts against the dollar if I can find it. I've talked about that many times, a couple of different reasons. The job numbers in the U.S. have been sort of poor. We still have a pretty dovish central bank here in the U.S. So until things change for the dollar in terms of notes from Jerome Powell, things like that, I am fairly bearish on it overall. And that's played out really well. The dollar, if you look at the dollar longer term, look at it on the daily chart. Sure, we've had a pretty mixed year here, but there have been some pretty good sell-offs in response to that. Now, I'm coming back to the dollar, I know, because if you're trading gold, gold is in reference to the dollar. You can't really trade XAUUSD without really paying attention to the dollar. And I'm watching 93.6 with a close eye. If we break out of there, then my dollar bearish thesis will have to just remain on the shelf, because I'm not going to be shorting something that is really, really strong until it shows signals that it's no longer strong. So that's where I'm sort of just sitting on the sidelines with this DXY movement, or the US dollar. So we'll keep an eye on that. So we'll keep going along. A couple other pairs that I want to take a look at. Euro GBP. Euro GBP, we'll take a look at the 4-hour chart. This one really, really choppy, but I would love to see a breakout to the downside for this one. So I do like the pound. I've mentioned that a couple times. This one has made some pretty nice retracements to the 50%, found sellers, pushed back down, but we've been very choppy. So I am watching this pair to see if we can get a break and close beneath support. That is sort of a key spot for me watching the euro pound. I do like this, like I said, to the sell side. If we're able to get something like this, absolutely could be interested in that for a return back to the lows here, down at 0.8460. So that's a pair on my watch list. I do like this sort of chugging downtrend, but I'm just looking for a signal, a breakout possibility there on Euro Pound. Next up, we will take a look at AUD USD, and then we're going to take a look at Aussie Yen. So look at this. Aussie Dollar really broke support, and it's almost at the last line of defense at that 61.8% retracement going into this week. If you're a super bull on the Aussie Dollar, maybe you're looking at this with a keen eye, but I would caution traders because this thing is still in a pretty strong overall downtrend. You can see bam, 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 trending lower. And now what was this little rally does seem like the bears are coming back hard. So we'll watch that going into the next week. And truthfully, and like I said, with all these other ones, until dollar strength really sort of subsides, I'm not really willing to jump into this. But we can take a look at something like Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen, I would be a little bit more interested in possibly finding a buy here. But again, this downtrend is still very, very strong. We are still seeing lower highs on the higher time frames. We did put in a higher high, but you know, with this recent dip, you really like, so what I'm looking at this, when I looked at Aussie Yen, I was really hoping that we would never see a break underneath the 38.2, right? I'd love to see something just like that and continue higher without showing much hesitation, just to show that the bulls are really strong. That's not what we saw. We saw a break lower, and now at the, you know, on Friday, we saw even more sell side as the yen got very, very strong. So for me, looking at this, if we can see some breakouts on the lower time frames, you may be able to see something like on the 1 hour chart. Maybe there's some setups like this going into next week. If the Aussie returns to strength, maybe you could find some strength against the yen. Another one that I like is New Zealand yen. We'll take a look at NZDJPY here. Take a look at that 4 hour chart. This one shows a lot of tenacity. Despite all of the stuff going on, the Kiwi still seems like it wants to be bought. I do like the Kiwi to the long side, and I am very closely watching 38.2. This is actually one of my closer watched currency pairs going into this next week. The Bank of New Zealand, or the RBNZ, has talked about raising rates. That's a rumor that's going around, and there's a little bit more optimism around this. This is why you see, you know, the NZDJPY outperforming Aussie Yen, right? These two currencies, New Zealand and Aussie dollar, they tend to sort of work the same way or move in the same direction. They have very sort of similar economies, and geographically they are close together. So they have some level of correlation. This one, however, is being favored right now. We're seeing the Kiwi dollar do quite well. We can actually see this exactly in AUD NZD, right? We cross, that's what the whole currency market is about. We can cross two different currencies, and you can see overall the Aussie dollar getting sold into against the NZD. So I expect that that is probably going to continue. And one of the bets that I like the idea of doing is actually betting long on NZD JPY. That is sort of a risk on play big time, because you're betting, you know, that the Kiwi dollar will get strong against the JPY, which is the inherent or the sort of proxy risk off currency. People tend to buy the yen when the markets are a little fearful, which again, I don't know if I mentioned this or not. I mentioned this on streams, but the S&P 500 is sort of leading our risk-off sentiment right now. Stocks are selling off. There's some fear around monetary policy tightening and the Delta variant, and there is a bit of risk-off sentiment. If that shows signs of reversing, if this is yet another dip in this uptrend, I will be looking very closely at things like NZDJPY, maybe looking at the S&P 500 myself. I've got stocks, things like that that I could possibly trade as well. But because this is mostly Forex, we'll keep talking about some of the Forex pairs. NZDJPY, like I said, 38.2% retracement may be in the books this week. It doesn't have a very clear level of support, but if there's something on the lower time frames that catches my eye, then perhaps I will watch it. Those are some of my top setups for this week, you guys. If you enjoyed this video, do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel so you can come back and hang out with us again in the future. Hit that like button if you made it to the end of the video. Comment down below. I love it when you guys make it to the end. It really does show that you guys support the content, and it's just awesome to hear from you. So with that said, you guys, have a great trading week. Trade safe. There's a lot of volatility in these markets right now, and if this S&P 500 move continues, you will see the currency market also get very, very crazy. So please be careful. Keep your position sizes managed, and from that, I will leave you all and have a great week. See you next time.